Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Keelan and I'm doing a no buy month at the moment, and because of that I've been doing a lot of videos based on budgeting, but I feel like we try to lead a generally frugal lifestyle anyway, and I just want to put out inspiring content that kind of encourages conversation about how to live well on a budget. And I've really been enjoying hearing like people's ideas and their views on everything, and I kind of would like to create a community where we can discuss those things together and share tips and help each other out, because there's so many ideas out there, and whenever you get people together that are from like all different countries and different backgrounds and they share their tips, it's just like the number that you can come up with is just immense, and it's so inspiring, and I think it just keeps people on track when they're trying to save money. I wanted to make a video today about 10 things to do instead of spending money. Can you let me know if the audio is okay, because I used my boyfriend's earphones in the last video to see if it made a difference. I don't know if it really did. You can let me know if you think it did. I know I'm softly spoken generally, and I probably need to remember to project my voice more, but it's kind of hard to just like start a new habit, and like it's just not what I naturally do, so you can let me know what you think. Yeah, so the first idea that I had was to make homemade gifts for family and friends for Christmas and birthdays, and to make a list of what you could do so that in advance you have some ideas and you can kind of plan it out a little bit. You don't have to be a naturally creative person to do this. I think everybody's creative in their own way. I actually have a book called We Are All Creative, which kind of highlights that fact, but like you don't have to be an artist to produce thoughtful, like meaningful handmade gifts. Like I've made so many easy ones in the past. Like for example, I made someone a moisturizer before. It was literally 3 ingredients and they loved it. They said it was a really good moisturizer, and it was just so easy to make, but it was like satisfying as well. And then I put it in a nice jar so it felt like personal and like it looked a bit fancy. I have made lots of things like cookies and like sweet treats because I like to bake, but you don't have to be like naturally good at baking or like painting or anything to produce homemade gifts. There's so many simple recipes online, and you can even make like baking mixes in jars where you put in like the dry ingredients and instructions on the outside of the jar for what needs to be added whenever it's being made fresh. You could even make little seed packs where you put seeds for plants inside, or even just like buy seed packets and make them more personal by creating like a packaging thing for the outside where you print off like a little message on it or something. Like there's just so many ideas, and if you just spend some time researching online you can definitely come up with a lot with very few ingredients, and a lot of them might already be lying around your house. My second tip for something to do instead of spending money is to go outside instead of going to like a flower shop or even just like a supermarket and treating yourself to a bunch of flowers. Go outside and take cuttings of whatever's in your garden and put it in a little jar if you don't have a vase. And I did this recently because we have this fuchsia bush in the back garden, and I knew because the weather was going to be colder soon that it would probably start to wilt, so I wanted to make the most of it, and I decided to just put it in a jar I had got from a charity shop. And it looked like a really expensive display once I put it together, but it just took minutes to do, and it was so much more satisfying than spending money on like a kind of standard bunch of flowers that anybody could buy. Number 3 is to create a home cinema. The reason why, I know that this is a tip that features a lot in like frugal living, like blogs and things with ideas of things to do, but my daughter actually said to me recently, we had just been to the cinema and I thought they loved going to the cinema, and I think they do, but she said to me, I prefer watching movies at home with my family. And I said why, and she was like, because you can sit and chat to each other during the movie and there's no one else around, it's not crowded, there's no like noise from other people, and then like you can have whatever snacks that you want to make at home and hot drinks, because she likes that I make hot chocolate to go with popcorn at home, which they don't tend to have in cinemas. You can make it however you want, you can watch as many movies as you want, and I just think it's cozy being on the sofa under a blanket with your family rather than in a cinema. Like, I do like going to the cinema, but just for something different to do. And that really made me realise the fact that like a child would choose that over going to the cinema. It kind of felt like a big deal. So yeah, you can basically make it your own cinema, like however you want, and just like there's no limits to the way that you do it. And my fourth idea of something to do instead of spending money is to create a home cafe. Make your own kitchen into a cafe so that you don't feel the need to go to a cafe. I know that in the past I've been guilty of having a coffee shop addiction and just getting into the habit of walking in, and it's like you're like in a zombie state. It's like you don't even think about it. It becomes part of your routine and you just do it automatically. But it quickly adds up, and even if you don't think it's much, over time, like spending, like for example, £4 on a latte, if you're doing it every day, it quickly like mounts up to a large total. So I've tried to make my own kitchen somewhere I want to be for coffee, and I felt like I had to have certain things there in order to do that. Like for example, I've been making syrup, or else I've bought syrup from places, so I can make like a coffee that is similar to the one in the cafes, because I make black coffee at home all the time anyway. So when I go to a cafe, I want to have like a soya latte with like some sort of syrup in it and like a fancier drink. And if you have the like supplies at home to enable you to do that, you're less likely to go somewhere else to get it, and it feels like a treat still, and you can actually have a better experience at home than in a cafe, I've realized, because in a lot of cafes I have noticed like recently that they have air conditioning that would freeze you to death. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's like it blasts above the tables, and there's been times when I'm like literally shivering, like, and I just want to go. And I think that sometimes, I don't know if it's just like they keep it like that constantly and don't adjust it to the temperature outdoors, but sometimes it's overpowering. You can end up sitting beside really annoying people that are really loud and you can't even hear your own thoughts. And if you're doing something like creative or trying to have a conversation with a friend, it can be quite disruptive. There have been times whenever I have been in a cafe and I've thought this would be perfect if the music was better. Like, whenever I'm in a coffee shop, I want to, sorry, there's a massive spider over there that I just kind of killed with a boot, as awful as that is, but it was like moving very fast and to the point where I couldn't cope with it, and now I'm kind of paranoid that it's still alive. Anyway, yeah, so I like peaceful music whenever I'm having a cup of coffee, and if I go in somewhere and there's like pop music that's very like hard to ignore, it really ruins the experience for me. So basically, in your own home, you can create your own environment. You can have the music you want, you can have the lighting you want, like you can make it peaceful and an enjoyable experience. Basically, you can make it however you want at home. And yeah, I think if you have the supplies to make it fancy, it feels like a treat. Like, I have my espresso pot, I have milk frother and syrup, and that makes it like a cafe for me. It really freaks me out because I do yoga in here on a mat on the floor, and usually I have like dim lighting when I'm doing it, and I hate to think that sometime I might be lying on the floor and a spider just walks across me. I don't know why, but I just have a fear of that. Like, there was a day in the summer whenever I brought in laundry and there was a huge spider on my arm, and that tickly feeling as it crawls across you, oh, I just can't like deal with it. I should probably grow up and try and get over my fear of spiders, because I don't feel like I'm setting a good example for my kids, but I just hate them. I don't know what it is. I think it's because whenever I was in America years ago, I got bitten by spiders at night that kept coming out of the walls at night time. And I literally had like 40 spider bites, and they were like bullseyes. They were so huge, and that just like really put me off them. Before that I wasn't too bad, but now I absolutely hate them. I don't mind the little tiny ones, but the big ones are just, I actually have nightmares about them. And the next tip is to make collages with old magazines and images that you have lying around the house. You don't have to buy anything new for this, and if you have a printer, you can always print off like anything you find online and just make like lovely like artwork to put on your wall, or just like as an art project to do like in a sketchbook or something. It's just really restful, and you don't really need a lot of artistic skill or energy to do it either, because like it's just simple. It's just sticking pictures together and seeing what you come up with. And there was a collage artist that I met at an event I took my kids to before, where they were making like a collage eye, and I had a really long conversation with her, and her artwork is amazing, but she just started with collage and just has like built on it. And it's like she now collages with things that she has like sourced from so many different places, but also cut out herself, and it's just really interesting how far she's taken that. And the next idea is to rearrange a room. If you are bored and you want something to do instead of spending money, it focuses you. Like the process of decluttering, it kind of like just moving around your physical space, I think just does something to your mood and resets everything. And if you don't have the energy to rearrange an entire room, you can just rearrange a drawer and make it more accessible to yourself and make life easier, so that whenever you have to reach into the drawer and you're in a hurry, it's easier to find what you need. And that's something me and my sister used to do a lot when we were younger. Like I feel like we didn't go out all the time. We did a lot of like home-based activities, and one of the things we liked to do if we were bored was to rearrange our bedroom and just use the things we already had to make it look fresh. Like I remember having a bedside table that we covered with a tablecloth, and then it just changed the look of the room completely. Like just moving objects around just freshens place. And the next tip is to make your own pantry with the space that you have at home. You don't have to have a whole like ceiling to floor cupboard to do this, or a walk-in cupboard. You can just take the space that you have and modify it to make it work for you as a pantry, and just make it easier to find everything you need. And it just improves everything. Like it makes it easier to find the ingredients you need, but it also kind of makes you feel like you have your own little like chef's kitchen. And I think that that can be really rewarding, instead of going out and buying new things to decorate your kitchen or more clutter to fill up the space. The next idea is to upcycle your clothes. And when I say this, I don't mean like you have to have amazing sewing skills. You don't need to have a sewing machine. You don't have to be even amazing at hand sewing. Like you can just do simple things like iron on patches, add sequins, use fabric pens, like add a pocket if you know how to do that, change buttons. Like you can just do simple things that just like elevate your wardrobe and make it look new. If you can hear howling, by the way, that's kind of like a normal noise to hear in our household, and sorry about that, but usually my kids are fighting, but my partner is supervising at the minute, so there's nothing like hugely worrying about it. The next tip is to make mood playlists, so that you have something to reach for when you're in a particular mood and you want to have like a list of songs that you know you like, and it fits like the feeling that you want to create in that particular moment or atmosphere. Like for example, I love blues music, so I have some like Otis Rush and Buddy Guy and Muddy Waters, and like blues rock as well, like John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, Fleetwood Mac, I mean Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac by that. Or like I have a jazz mood, so like I love like Miles Davis, Charlie Parker, Lester Young, and like Billie Holiday. And you can just like make it themed and make all of the like songs fit together in a way that flows, and it makes like, it's just, you can do it when you're busy and you just want a mood in the kitchen, when you're working, or when you're doing like studying, or anything that you're doing, wherever it is in your house. You can just create that mood immediately without having to think about it at the time. So yeah, if you like metal, I can't really help you with any suggestions, but I know my partner could. But I tend to, if I want to create like an atmosphere in a room, I tend to go for jazz or blues. I also like reggae a lot in the summer. I like dub. I also like rock, like I love classic rock. I love like 1960s music. So there's so many different like themes that you can have, and it just like compiling it when you have the free time to do it is really satisfying, and then you can name it whatever you want and just have your own like easy to access playlists for whenever you don't have the time to think about what to put on. And my next tip for something to do instead of spending money is to make jam or chutney with whatever you happen to have lying around the house. I have got into the habit of keeping jars from jam and like pasta sauce and things, and then if you just soak it in hot soapy water, the label falls off by itself, and then you can just keep it. You don't need like canning equipment. I have been doing it for on and off for years with just put the jars and the lids in hot soapy water, put them in the oven at, I think it was 150 degrees I did it at last time, but for about 15 minutes facing up, and then just use tongs so that you're not touching it and contaminating it. You put the liquid in hot and then like close the jar, and to seal it you just like put it in a pot of boiling water and boil it covered until the seal doesn't pop when you press the top of it. So it's actually really simple. I'm sure there's a better way of doing that. I'm sure having canning equipment is much more effective if you're doing it on a larger scale, but if you're someone like me that just wants to make jam now and again, that method works perfectly fine. This week I made some pumpkin jam, which was actually so nice, and it was with like pumpkin that I had left over, and I didn't really know what to do with it because I made cookies which were more like cakeys because they were kind of soft, but the flavor was really good, and I made more pumpkin syrup, and then I just thought, what do I want to do with the rest of it? So I made jam, and it worked out really well, and it was so easy to make. It literally was just like pumpkin. I already had the pumpkin cooked because I had baked it in the oven, so I just scooped the flesh out and then added sugar, lemon juice and orange juice and cooked it, and it was delicious. Like, I was amazed how well it turned out, and I think you can do that with so many things. I've made onion chutney before, I've made jam with berries that we had. Like, it's just so easy to do, and it's kind of nice. It would make a good gift too if you amass a collection of them and then you can give them to people for Christmas or whatever. So I just think it's a good way to use up things in your house that might otherwise go to waste. Like, if you have a lot of fruit that's starting to turn, you can like use it up in jam and chutney, and that preserves it for a long time, and it's really rewarding. And there's something nice about eating things like that you've made yourself rather than just running out and buying it in the shop, and it doesn't taste processed. I think a lot of this is just like going back to old-fashioned ways of doing things and making use of what you have around your home instead of like rushing out to buy things. I think buying everything has become far too accessible nowadays, and it's just too easy to click and buy or run out to a shop and buy everything that you want or need. And sometimes like being more resourceful and using what you have at home and just coming up with ideas so that you know what you could do instead of shopping in advance really helps. Like, for example, if you're thinking, oh, I want to go shopping, and you feel the urge to shop, you can be like jam or like library, or you just have something you can insert there that you like, it redirects your train of thought and it's still satisfying, and it makes you feel, it gives you the feeling you get from shopping, only it lasts longer. So yeah, I hope this is helpful to someone, and thank you for joining me, and hi to any new subscribers, and thanks to everyone for subscribing and commenting. And yeah, I'll make another video soon. See you soon, bye.
And just to finish off the video, this weekend we had what felt like a free holiday, even though it wasn't, but we had paid it off in advance. We stayed for one night in a hotel near the sea, and we had breakfast and dinner included, so it just felt like a budget holiday. But I think that sometimes being frugal and like living consciously with your finances, it enables you to do things like that, and I'd rather pay for experiences with family than buy things. We went to Carrick-a-Reid rope bridge, which I'd never been to before, and it was a National Trust place, so because we're National Trust members, we didn't have to pay to go, and we were really lucky that day with the weather. It was beautiful, and it was kind of thrilling crossing it. It wasn't actually as high as I imagined it would be, but it was a bit wobbly. Like, there were some people jumping on it whenever we were going across it. Then we went to Ballycastle, and we took the dog to the beach, which he loved because he gets off the lead, and it was a dog-friendly hotel, so he was like in heaven. and it was funny, they had quirky dog decor everywhere. These were like, this was inside the toilets, and the food was really good. I got a vegan pavlova for dessert, which was great because I usually can't have dessert because of the dairy thing. And then we got to do lots of beach walks and walks along the seafront. We went out at night time and saw the moon, and I wished I could capture how beautiful it was. And they have these like twinkly fairy lights around the little town, which I love. And it was just nice to be able to so easily get to the sea. We were literally across the road from it. This was just a display on the wall, another quirky like bit of their decor. And then the place where we sat to eat with the dog, it was kind of overlooking the beach as well. And he got sausages brought to him for breakfast, which he loved, obviously, and he basically inhaled them. And this was just some of the continental breakfast stuff. They also had hot breakfast food, so there was a good selection and it was all really delicious. And then we just went for another walk on the beach before we left, and there was a very noisy crow that made me laugh. And I'll just leave you with these beachy images and a reminder that the best things in life are free and you don't need to spend any money to have fulfilling experiences.